FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio.
Doing some really big-ticket fundraisers. How do you convince your supporters that you're not going to become the puppet that you accuse your opponents of being?
Well, I'm no puppet, and I'll tell you, I'm raising the money for the party, largely for the party.
Donald Trump still at it at this Bismarck event where he gave a speech, and now he's taking questions from the media. He is really breaking the mold in a lot of ways. You don't see Hillary Clinton doing anything like this. Sanders does it occasionally, but not in the way Trump does. He doesn't have handlers who advise him on how to answer certain questions. Just tells you what's on his mind. For better or for worse, he's a different breed, and it's clearly played into his popularity. So we'll continue to record that, and if anything interesting comes out of it, besides the debate with Bernie Sanders, we'll be sure and get you updated on that. Our guest this hour is Linda Rallo. She's the executive director of Raise Your Hand for Kids. They've got a petition that's going to be on the November ballot where you could vote to increase tobacco taxes to pay for early childhood education. I wanted to just get a little bit more information on this and what it looks like. Linda, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
We're doing great.
Good.
We're working every day and trying to move this initiative forward. We've been at it for over 2 years now.
Is this about discouraging people from smoking, or is it about early childhood education?
This initiative is about increasing funding for early childhood education, health prevention for 0 to 5, and to increase smoking cessation programs for pregnant moms and for youth.
Okay, so the money goes into a trust fund. First of all, I guess we should get down to the basics of how this would raise taxes if people were to vote for it, where the money would go, and how it would be distributed.
Yeah, well, this is a constitutional amendment which will create the Early Childhood Health and Education Trust Fund. So we're proposing to the voters a 60-cent tobacco tax increase phased in over 4 years. So it will be 15 cents a year for 4 years. And after it's fully phased in, it should raise about up to maybe $300 million in revenue. And then that revenue will get distributed in grants to local communities. 75% of it will be for early childhood education, 15% for health care, like preventative health care, and then 10% for smoking cessation.
Okay.
Or it's a range between those percentages.
So why tobacco? Why did you target tobacco on this? Because it strikes me that when you have a sin tax like this and the cost of something goes up, eventually with the rate of smoking declining, this is going to be a situation where several years down the road you're going to be taking in less and less money, correct?
That's a great question. Yeah, sin taxes generally are inelastic. In economic terms, that means that people will continue to use them. So it will hopefully eventually go down because we'd love for people to stop smoking. But what we like is that it's not going to happen overnight, and it will give the commission time to get these grants out into communities to show that these programs work, that they're delivering return in value to the taxpayers, and hopefully they're going to offset other costs like remediation rates for education, health costs, and then those savings will, kind of come back into the state. So I think it gives us, time to prove that these programs work, and if they don't work, then we don't need them. But if they do, it's going to be something that the taxpayers are going to value, and they're going to want to continue to fund, and they'll have to find other sources of revenue if it disappears, but we don't think it's going to go away anytime soon.
Did I read this correctly that it would phase in the tax increase? Is that right?
Phase in the tobacco tax increase?
Yes, 15 cents a year or something like that?
15 cents a year for 4 years, so it gets up to 60 cents.
Which, first of all, I'm not a big fan of these sin taxes on a legal product. However, Missouri has, the lowest tobacco taxes in the nation, or almost?
We are the lowest. We're 17 cents a pack, and we're well below the national average of $1.61. There have been 3 attempts in the past, dozen years where they've tried to raise the tax at different amounts. We did a lot of research to figure out what would be an amount that the voters would be okay with. We're not trying to punish anyone. We're not going for a dollar increase. I think I just read in California they're turning in signatures for a $2 a pack increase. I mean, we're looking at something that is not going to put anyone out of business, but it is going to bring in much-needed revenue for programs that are significantly underfunded. Missouri is one of the worst states when it comes to funding early childhood education, and we are at like $37 million. And you look at what we're spending on all our other priorities, and we just want to put kids first.
So, in your opinion, then, why is there so much opposition to this? The Missouri Association of Rural Education, I believe the Missouri NEA, correct me if I'm wrong, the Missouri Petroleum Marketers Association. I mean, a lot of groups have come out in opposition to this.
Well, there's a lot of money at stake, and there's a lot of special interests that they want to keep their subsidies. They want to, control where it goes. And we've come up with a solution that really is for the people. It's going to be distributed across the state where the kids are. It's going to be, distributed in a fair and equitable way for kids birth to 5. And I think that it's sort of the last untapped source of revenue in the state. And so there's a lot of groups that want to get their hands on it, and we want to take it and give it to the kids.
Who would handle the administration of the money?
So this amendment would create the Early Childhood Commission, which is basically there's already a coordinating board for early childhood that exists. So it's just reforming an existing board, putting a little more oversight on that board, and that board would be set up to create a grant program. So anyone from Cape Girardeau to St. Louis to Branson to St. Joe could apply for grants, and they have to demonstrate that they're going to improve access and in quality of early learning. They're going to be able to measure their success. They're going to be able to deliver a return to the taxpayers, and it's going to be a very accountable process. So the money goes where the kids are, and the money goes to people who can prove that they're going to use those resources wisely.
So the teachers who have been opposed to this, if I read their press release correctly, their issue with it is that some of this money, taxpayer money collected in this trust fund, might end up going to private schools or Christian schools, whatever the case may be. And clearly it's been their goal to avoid the voucher system for a long time. And they don't want to see that taxpayer money in any way go to something other than a public school.
Well, first of all, there's no way this could be a voucher program because there's no requirement that we provide early childhood education in our state. So you're not really taking money there's no money going to early childhood, so it can't be given a voucher to go to something else. So the voucher argument is really inaccurate. I think what we have in Missouri, and this is already happening, and this is what they don't want to tell you this, but we're already doing this. Take a YMCA, for example. That is a faith-based organization. Look at Grace Hill in St. Louis. That's the largest provider of Head Start funding. That is an Episcopalian organization. So we want those organizations that are already doing great things for kids to be able to apply for grants. And the other thing they won't tell you is that school districts, not all school districts can provide early childhood education. They don't have the physical capacity in their building. They don't want to be mandated to provide pre-K and then have to go raise a bond issue on local voters and make them pay for a building when there is a perfectly good building right down the street and people are already doing public-private partnerships. That's the model for the future. That's how we're going to deliver the best value to taxpayers. And the U.S. Constitution prohibits any public money going for religious instruction. So none of these dollars are going to go for a Bible camp or anything like that. This is just saying that if somebody can provide quality and they have the physical ability and the local communities want to partner, it's going to be available for them and it's going to be legal. And that's something that we did a lot of research. We looked at other states. We talked to local communities all across Missouri, and this is what people want.
I don't know what is the tax on a pack of cigarettes right now?
17 cents.
Yeah. I had a guy in front of me at a convenience store the other day who was buying a carton, and I think it was like $55 or something like that. And he jokingly said to the clerk, where I live, this would have been $100. So he was stunned at how little he had to pay for his cigarettes here. But, the sin tax thing is what bothers me.
I understand that, but let's look at this from a different perspective. We are considered, quote, the dumping ground for cheap cigarettes. So we're the only state in the entire country that has a special law that subsidizes companies that are not even located in Missouri to produce cigarettes and bring them into our state. So they bring them in, and then people come and buy them by the truckloads, and they take them out of state and they sell them on the black
Resell
market.
them. Okay.
And we have to spend our taxpayer dollars to have law enforcement have to police all of this activity. And so I think that if we raise the tax to just a reasonable amount, we can really cut down on some of those, unintended consequences that cost us money.
Linda, I'm up against a hard break here. Tell people the website they can go to find out more about this.
Go to raiseyourhandforkids.org, and we would love to come and meet with people, talk to folks. I'm available anytime, and we're just trying to get our message out, and we're really excited about this opportunity. Linda
Rallo, Executive Director, Raise Your Hands for Kids. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Have a great day.
Yep, you take care. What say you? 314-969-9797. Plus, we're going to get the Missouri NEA representative on here to explain why they're opposed to this money that would be raised for early childhood education. That's coming up right here on the Mark Cox Show. Stick around.